Let's bring in Betul Dogan Akkas. She's a PhD researcher at Durham University and an associate fellow at Al-Sharq Strategic Research Institute, and she joins me now from Durham. So we saw recently, too, a very high-level meeting recently, or I said recently twice, between President Erdogan and the UAE, and that was a similar situation with a lot of agreements ready to be signed. Those, of course, were accomplished. Now we're seeing something similar in Qatar. So how would you describe Turkey's goals in building these ties right now in the Gulf? Is this more about investment or security?
Thank you. Good morning. We have actually a key difference between Turkey's relations with UAE and Qatar, despite the current situation with UAE, because in Qatar, this is a strategic meeting and it's the seventh time. So since 2015, these two countries are actually cooperating in many fields, including security and defense, rather than only focusing on economic targets. But with UAE, after the reconciliation of relationship, we might see more political cooperation, but basically it's focused on economic relations. Yeah, so we might say Qatar has more strategic depth when it comes to Turkish foreign policy making in the last 10 years.
Right, and something that's been a really pressing concern for Turkey and Qatar together is, of course, the situation in Libya. They protected the UN-backed government in Tripoli from attack by the warlord Haftar. So now that the Libyan election is looming, they must be concerned about what is going to happen there going forward. That has to be pretty high on their list.
For UAE and Qatar, Libya is a significant case. It's not only because it's an Arab country, because the overall stability in the region is heavily affected on GCC's own stability. So that's why if any forces, either elected government or Haftar's military forces, will lead any further problems in Libya, they won't be satisfied with their investment so far. So especially for UAE, since they were there with military presence, the elections are key, and they do invest on the politicians, and they do invest on their forces on the ground to assure that their policy making won't draw back after the elections, and they would like to keep international community as well supported for their role in Libya.
Okay, so these agreements that we expect to be signed today between Turkey and Qatar, what are they likely to entail? Are they likely to be all or mostly economic?
It's not actually, because this is a strategic partnership agreement, and we have the same agreement with GCC actually, but we are not really focusing on that in the last couple of years. But Turkey's agreement with Qatar, or agreements with Qatar in general, is multilateral. So there are ones on cultural cooperation, educational cooperations, plus economy, investment, finance, and security, because Turkey has its only military base so far in Middle East at Qatar. So that's why we can't see only an economic dimension, rather a multilateral phases of cooperation, including soft power and hard power elements.
Right, definitely an important regional relationship. Betul Akkas, thanks for sorting that out for us.